Good afternoon, everybody. All right, good, thanks.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Just walks through the decision for going for that 70-yarder. And the execution, was it his normal stroke? Was the weather factor? Or just kind of walk us through the whole thing?
Yeah, good. Kind of three parts to that one. So right at the end of the half, we really want to get as close to the 50-ish as we can. And we were right about the 50-ish. And so we said if we get anywhere in that neck of the woods, we're going to give it a big old whack. And we knew that we were going into the wind that direction. But we said, at the end of the half, the worst thing that could happen is they put a returner back there and we got to cover. So we went with it. And his approach was a little different. You can see on tape, he did like a little skip step and he tried to just drive it. So it sure looked like a corner kick because for sure it swerved middle to the left. And then it was short and we covered it. And we were alerted to a bench return, very likely to their side. And so we had Chauncey over the right wing and our punter did a great job covering. But we knew it was, a shot to be taken, but probably the percentages were a little bit low. But at that point in the half of the game, that's what we went with. And it was good, and I think the guys appreciated the opportunity. I know Brandon did.
You talked to me just about how just his stroke is so smooth and repeatable, and 55-yarders look like 40 and all that. Yep. You mentioned he altered it a bit there. Did he alter because of the distance, because of the wind, or what? Why do you think he altered what he would normally do? Because it looked a little different.
Yeah, he altered it because of the distance and the wind. So he treated it like literally like a corner kick. So you can see his steps. He backed up a little bit further, and right when the ball got snapped, he did like a little skip step just to basically get some momentum to really drive it. And you can see the kick. I mean, it took off hard and a lot lower than his normal kick because he knew it was going to take everything to get it there. So it was actually kind of cool to see because when he did it, talking this morning on the film room, he didn't intentionally do it. It kind of just, he deepened up a little bit on purpose, but all the footwork part of it, we haven't practiced a 70-yarder before, but we've practiced some distance kicks. But what happened with his feet was basically just pure instincts, which is kind of part of the deal with him, which is good.
John Todd Archer with ESPN.
Hey, Todd.
I don't know what they list Turpin in that weight-wise, but is there a knack for him to not take big shots when he's returning, you think?
Yeah, he's made mention of that too to me in the past where, I've asked how he's holding up, his body feeling good, and he's even said that he just doesn't feel like he's taking a lot of big shots. I think he has the knack for weaving through, and if he can break a tackle, he breaks a tackle, but when it's kind of shut down, he can get down. I remember kind of even like a Marvin Harrison used to max the yardage, and we knew his time was up. He got down, but his elusiveness and ability to kind of hide behind some of the blockers, especially on kick return, because usually that's the more physical return phase. I think he's thriving in the body protection aspect of it, whether it's he kind of gets funneled out of bounds or he cuts it back, and he's pretty fascinating that part of the game because he doesn't take the big shots.
And then at the owners' meetings this past week, Troy Vincent said that the foot is back in football. As you look at it, what's happened this year, do you agree with that assessment, and is there something that you think will still grow going forward?
Yeah, I think the foot is definitely back in football compared to the last year or two, and I don't know what the percentages are, but I know we've covered, I think, well over half our kickoffs, and we've tried to return every kickoff that's available, anything that basically doesn't go out of the end zone. So for us, it feels like the foot is definitely back in it because, for our guys, they want to play. And so, we've kicked some balls and cover on purpose on kickoff. And, our tackle numbers are way up, which means our competitiveness is way up. Our meetings and practices have ratcheted up just because we know, the ball is live, and so it's going to matter. But it feels like the foot is definitely back in the game because of the amount of live balls that are happening compared to last year, at least for our part of it.
John Machota with The Athletic. On the field goal try, how much do you guys even work on the possibility of a return and having to make a tackle with that group?
Yep.
And then the second part of the question is, who of that group would you say is your best tackler?
Yeah, good call. So maybe, honestly, once every couple of weeks, we'll jog through a cover with our field goal team. And, it's a landmark cover, which would be different than like a kickoff cover or punt cover to make it a little bit simpler for those guys. So we show it on the tape in the field goal meetings. We've jogged through it once every couple weeks in practice. But it's the first time we've really had a live one. The best guy would probably be Chauncey, who's our right wing, and he just happened to be to the opponent boundary, which is usually where the returns happen. So he was good on that. Surprisingly very good was Brian Anger. He knew the return was going that way because you could kind of see him kind of start to drive that way and put a blocker on his behind like they're taught to do in the core and kind of just funneled it out of bounds. If you go look at the tape, you got to give a ton of credit to Brock Hoffman, who kind of got past the ball. He gave a little bit of ground and ran him down and laid out right at the end of the half. And he came huffing and puffing into the locker room from having to cover one of those because those guys aren't used to covering a kickoff. That's basically what it was. But I think they enjoyed it. I don't know. It was different. Tyler Smith kind of got caught up in a little stutter and go by the returner. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that on our Thursday field goal meeting. This is what it's like covering a punt and kickoff, guys. But your teammates do this 5 to 10 times a game. So just the respect factor for all the pieces of it will be cool.
Sadi's the Athletic. John, I want to make sure the question makes sense, but so many of Brandon's 55 yarders or whatever look like they would go in from 70. So do you ever have a conversation with him hey, just mentally pretend this is a 55 and then just don't change anything about how you're kicking or approaching it because his 55 and 60s look like they can go in from 70?
Yeah, I totally get it. I think, up to probably, I'm kind of speculating, but up to the 65, 66 yarder that he's made, I think it can all feel and be the same operation and swing and tempo. The 70-yarder into the wind, that was different. That was going to take extra. And so what he did was extra. I feel like that wind might have been if we were going the other way, I think that would have given us a 5 to 7 yard advantage. And I think that would have been right about the crossbar if he had it, between the uprights. But going that way was going to be a little bit harder. Going the other way, maybe he stays with his normal deal, just a little bit extra, a little bit lower trajectory. But that's the going to practice. We've talked about some different stuff on the 70-yarders that we haven't necessarily worked on, but I'll let you know what that is if the time ever comes. So probably keep it in the bag for now.
In the case of something going wrong, are you more concerned with the kick being returned or the kick being blocked to begin with in that situation?
Yeah, I think in that one, I'd be more concerned about the kick being blocked, because it's going to come out low and, a block, you never know who ends up with the ball in their hands. So that was really the first concern. Then once it got booted, I felt like we could funnel the ball out of bounds. But we also have ways if we needed to kill it, between the holder and kicker. If it looks like there's no chance, then we can kill it a couple of different ways. But I think the guys on the sideline were kind of excited to see what would happen, especially the special teams guys. And so if we get that in position again, I'm sure we'll probably attempt it again, taking the conditions into factor, whether it's outdoors in Philly or after that.
Nick Harris, 4-star Telegram, I think you just answered it, but you would be more than willing to give him that opportunity again from 70?
Yeah, he's got 70 in him for sure.
And did the wind kind of carry it because it was so low, or did he mishit it? What kind of happened necessarily?
I actually don't think he mishit it. I think the wind was a factor. I mean, it was even his made kicks going that direction. He hit sweet spots, but they were getting knocked down pretty good. So he tried to, put a little extra gas on it, and it just came out with a pretty semi-normal hook ball for that big of a swing. But I think the wind had a big factor on that. And it was gusting. If you guys were there on the field in that part of the second quarter, it was significant at certain times, and it just caught us at that time. But he's got 70 in him for sure if the conditions are all equal.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. John, what can you do to prepare for wind and the conditions just in general, when especially talking about Philly going there in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's a good question. And what we'll do on our Wednesday when I just have the specialists just together and we kick, and then Thursday, if we're ever playing outdoors on the grass, we'll go outside with the other team while they're in their meetings, and we'll go outside in hopefully the conditions that are going to be like the road game, and we'll kick outside. If we're playing a home game or a dome game on the road, we'll kick inside. So we practice on the surface and the elements based on whatever team we're playing. So, when we go to Philly, we'll be kicking on the grass for sure outside and punting on the grass outside. This game and the last game of the regular season will be inside kicking. So we try to mirror that to mimic the conditions. And we did that last week too, with some wind on the grass.
Anybody have anything else? Nope.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.